Rachel Downey.
In the rush to hit publish, we sometimes lose sight of what content's supposed to do. We start to put it in the check the box marketing category. But sometimes when speed is the goal, trust can become the trade-off. And that's what Jesse Bourgeault-Trickey wrestles with every day. He's the global development manager at Happeo and the co-host of the Unmuted podcast. Jesse has spent years helping companies streamline their content management, ultimately bringing order to the mess, allowing you to focus on things like speed and trust without having to sacrifice any of it. He helps teams go from just ship it to it actually works. Content only matters if it helps more people trust your brand. Going from knowing you to liking you to trusting you, that's how businesses go from transactions to relationships. And relationships are what sustain companies. Now, we are in the AI era. Nobody is denying it. We are all claiming it. Some of us are doing it wrong. Some of us are doing it well. Just go to LinkedIn and you'll know. But AI is touching more and more of the content we produce. So I had to ask him the question, how can you actually trust the content that brands are putting out if it's coming from AI? Here's what he had to say.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system. At the tone, please record your message.
Hey, Rachel. It's Jesse just getting back to you. So normally what happens is that people are looking for something. Obviously, everybody's getting into a place now where we're trying to use AI more and more to get results faster. So there is sort of this need to be thoughtful about like, okay, am I looking at AI generated content? So I think that there's kind of a need for a bigger framework there almost, where you're thinking more strategically about how content is just generally being audited and maintained on a regular basis, just to make sure that things are being taken care of. If you're able to get a bunch of content from AI, I'm obviously looking at it from like a trust but verify sort of framework. What are the sources and can I trust those sources? So I'll need to instead look to rely on subject matter experts. So with subject matter experts, you need to have a system in place to make it so that everybody's doing the work properly and it's got that oversight again. So from the work that we're doing inside at Happeo, we're looking to kind of streamline that. So part of this is to think about, okay, how am I able to identify that subject matter expert, get them to know that they're sort of there to be accountable to answer these kinds of questions, and then be able to build a flow so that when we get a gap, if somebody goes and looks for something, they can't find it, if somebody reports something, if somebody starts posting a question about something, all of these things represent these gaps. And so now it's this idea of being able to identify gaps and being able to filter those back to these subject matter experts, assign them to them, make sure that they're taking care of these things. And then once those things are taken care of, so the subject matter expert validates that, yeah, that's the right answer, or yes, this is the right process, or no, we don't need this anymore. Then we're able to update the content with sort of like a verified mark, like you see across some of the platforms that are out there today. So this sort of brings this giant haystack of all your drives, all your files, all your posts everywhere into a much more condensed, smaller, verified, sort of like a bank of information, which is a different tier or a different level that you would have otherwise. This gives you the opportunity now to start tying AI into that smaller collection of content so that if I'm searching for something, I'm much more likely to get the right answer. Let's say we're in a position where we're getting all this content identified and then sort of created and then validated and verified and put into more of an official collection. And now all of our tools are tapping into that. That's great. But the other side of this is that we also need to think about how we communicate out to the rest of the organization or to the relevant parties as it relates to that new or trusted knowledge that's being created. And so the piece there is to make sure that we're thinking about as a new piece of documentation or a new process is either being developed or existing ones are being modified, potentially archives, depending on like what's going on. We need to tell those other audiences what's going on. We need to let them know because they may or may not know that those things exist in the first place. They may be relying on an old process that they just sort of memorized at one point. So we need to keep them in the loop and make sure that they are also being told, hey, this has changed. And we need to make sure that you know that. So there is sort of this piece to all of this where you want to sort of almost verify the knowledge, but you also want to verify awareness and engagement or sort of like the activation of the employee or the team member to know that they are in the loop as well. And the nice part about all of this is that by doing that communications piece and thinking about how the gaps being detected is sort of dependent upon these people out in your organization, either looking for things and not necessarily finding it or reporting things that they need or are missing. By doing that outward communication and keeping them in the loop about all this, it reaffirms the trust in the system overall so that they're able to understand, I need to do these actions because if I do, we see positive results. Hopefully that's not too much. If you want to break that stuff down, happy to kind of catch up later and we can chat about it. Give me a call back and we'll talk more.
Thanks for listening. Want your podcast to do more? Subscribe to Genius Cuts because it's never just a podcast. You can find it at shareyourgenius.com.